Hello everyone, welcome to this little lecture about aggravation and causation. I will try to give you some extra insight how this may improve your practice. First of all, the definition is that any specification, such as cold wind, can increase the headache, which is an aggravation, or can cause the headache. There was no headache before, so that's a causation. And the first question I would like to address is, isn't this the same? Aren't aggravation and causation both increasing in the same direction a certain complaint? And to reply to this, I will start from a page in Bartel's synthetic repertory, where you see the rubric wine aggravates down left with a lot of remedies. This is the aggravation, and then right you see ailments from, which is the causation. So it seems that for Bartel there was a difference. Wine can cause a headache, which means going from 0 to 1, but wine in other persons can increase the headache, so going from 1 to 2 or 3 or 4 in intensity of pain. So the first one we call the causation, 0 to 1. The second one we call the aggravation from 1 to 2. Well, I must say that in synthesis we have not done this. Also synthesis Adonis, the most recent version, for every type of food you will find 4 subrubrics: the aggravation, the amelioration, the aversion and the desire, which means that we have decided to put worse in the meaning of aggravation together with worse in the meaning of ailments from. And I will explain you why. The question really is it clinically relevant to make a distinction between aggravation and causation? And my reply has been no. No, and this is why the aggravation sign, which you see here, should be read as caused or aggravated by wine. This remedy or this person drinks wine and the wine increases the headache. It goes in the same direction. So this is why I say that this is one and the same symptom. And if we quickly just for a minute go back to this initial screen of Bartel, you will see that under ailments from there is coffea, lycopodium and nutmure, and these 3 remedies, coffea, lycopodium and nutmure, are also present in the rubric wine aggravates. So the question really is, does it make a difference to distinguish causation or aggravation by wine? I had some opposition to this simplification of the repertory, especially from some dear German friends, and who insisted that we keep the rubric ailments from wine as well. But then finally I asked them, can you give me a case where aggravation from wine as opposed to causation from wine differentiates the remedies? And the reply was none. I never received such a case. What is relevant is like the opposition, worse from fat, makes us think of certain remedies, while opposed to better from fat, abdominal complaints, and they eat French fries with mayonnaise and they are better with nux vomica. So this is clinically relevant to make the distinction between aggravation and amelioration, but not clinically relevant to make the distinction between causation and aggravation for the same remedies. So this brings us to the other end of the scope, in fact. Are they then different or not? And again, I would like to start from some precise rubrics here. In the repertory, you may know that the causations are grouped under the section ailments from. We read all types of ailments from. Death of loved ones. Is it of a child? Then it means that the parents suffer because a child has died. If it is in children, it means the child suffers because a parent or a sibling or someone else beloved is dying. Causation. There is an event and it causes problems, it causes symptoms. And the main word we should use is the word since. Since the death of my child, this is what the patient will say, I have palpitations. Since is not just like yesterday, last week, it's like several months, maybe years. Or someone else may say, my wife walked out on me and since then I am sleepless for weeks, for months. Or mortification. Mortification, yes, by the way, let me explain you this often misunderstood symptom or word. Mortification contains the word more, M-O-R-T, and more French-speaking people will know it means dead. So mortification is going dead, becoming dead, dying. Dying because someone with power is doing injustice to you. And it can be because of a legal situation, because of a structural situation, a boss and an employee, and they can decide to let something die in you, and since this happened, you have hypertension. This is mortification since a certain event. Aggravations, on the other hand, they are for a while. I drink wine and I have a headache for a few hours, maybe for a night, for a day, and then I don't drink wine, I don't have the headache anymore. If after 3 weeks I drink again wine or I take fatty food, then I have the headache again. So it's for a while that the impact of warm room, menses, whatever comes and triggers, causes the symptom to appear. It is aggravation is for a while. So there is for sure a certain time, the importance of time. Now, where in the repertory do we find aggravation? Well, we find it anywhere. That's easy. All types of aggravations are related to the mental symptoms, to the local symptoms, the general symptoms. They are everywhere. The causations, first of all, I remind you, you find them in mind ailments from so many other possibilities. But for the, I would say, non-mental causations, there is also a section in the repertory which we call never well since. And it is a little bit hidden because it's like the extension of another causation ailment from, which is convalescence. So under generals, ailments from convalescence, you will find several examples that have impacted the health of an individual for a longer time since. So there was a pneumonia, and after that pneumonia there was a slow convalescence, difficult convalescence. So normally people with a pneumonia, if it's not too bad, in a few weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're operational again. They have their energy again, they have their breath again, etc. Convalescence problems means that it takes longer than this, maybe 2 months. But never well since, then we speak about several months. We maybe speak about years, that someone got a pneumonia, and since this happened 5 years ago, again and again they get colds, they feel weak, and they are exhausted, etc. So the never well since is like an extension and therefore a sub-rubric in the rubric generals convalescence. Now, these are the general rubrics of causation. Of course, causation has always two aspects. Is the cause, the death of the loved ones, the grief, the vexation, the fright. Here are some examples. And the second aspect is what has it done to you? Like the milk disappears, you have palpitations, you vomit, you get diarrhea, etc. And so there are many symptoms which combine the cause and the effect. And these are very interesting rubrics. So at last, I would like to explain to you my idea about the relevance of aggravation and causation in practice. Well, first of all, aggravation is a modality, and among all the possible specifications a patient can give about a complaint, a modality is of course very interesting. Now we go into a causation if the impact is stronger. So this is a question, how strong is the impact, how strong is the intensity of this cause on the patient, and how long is the duration of these complaints that have appeared, how long is it standing there. And I would say the stronger and the longer the impact of the cause on the patient, the more important it is. And you will understand that in a way, in some cases, you could look at a modality almost as the beginning of a causation. You have a diarrhea after being mortified, then you don't think about this person, you don't have diarrhea. 2-3 weeks later, you get another email from this person, then you have again diarrhea. This is like a modality, and this is important, this is interesting, okay? But if the patient comes to you and says, I had this big conflict with this person, and since then you have diarrhea, hypertension, whatever, for, like say, 6 months, 1 year, etc., even longer, then it becomes a causation. So you see how a modality and a causation are related. And when a certain intensity is reached in the impact of whatever circumstance, we can speak about the causation. And I would like to say that this becomes an eliminating symptom, meaning by that your remedy needs to be in the rubric. The remedy you prescribe for this person is really dependent, it has to contain the elements of this causation, so the type of cause and the effect, an eliminating symptom. So I hope this clarifies some ideas about aggravation and causation. You're very welcome to ask me any questions. Thank you for listening, and here are my contact details. Thank you very much, and hear you at some next occasion. Bye.